Hey YouTubers, thanks for checking into the video today. Obviously you've clicked on this video because you need a bit more information on baitcast rods. So today's video is going to be explaining a little bit about the the core concepts in regards to construction, components, and also terminology that's related to these baitcast rods. Alright guys, first of all, what a baitcaster rod is, there's generally in the fishing world now two types of rods that you can buy. You can either buy a spinning style rod, and then obviously you're going to have to get a spinning style reel, or if not, it's going to be a bait cast style rod with a bait caster, just like you see over there. Alright guys, so what the reason why bait casters have become so popular is, a lot of anglers that like to throw lures, or in situations where you need much more accuracy with being able to throw out a bait or a lure in a certain area and hit that target every time. Certainly the bait casters give you more accuracy. Okay, pretty much all bait casters consist like this. They pretty much mean that you've got your bait caster and you'd have it on top. It's an overhead style design, meaning that your reel itself will sit on top as opposed to underneath, like a spinning design where your reel is here. All right guys, so I've got a reel out for you as well, just to show you a couple of things. I'll move into that in a second, but let's talk about the main features of a bait caster and some of the terminology that goes into it. Now, a lot of times you'll go into a fishing store and wonder why some rods will cost you, some of them you can pay maybe $20, $30, $40, $50 starting, anything up to, and some of them are going to be priced quite ridiculously at very expensive prices, and why there's such a gap in that pricing. Now, the reasoning behind that is because there's certain materials. Okay, it's primarily the materials that are used to make certain rods. Certain materials simply cost more, certain metals cost more, and that's why I think a lot of these companies try to market these rods at a higher price. At the end of the day, guys, I do want to cut the BS out of it as well, because I like to talk more factual about especially on the videos that I do. But some of these companies do a fantastic job of being able to market these rods and their products and charge what they feel, what they want to charge, is simply they can make money. There is no doubting, okay guys, there's a fine balance between what they want to charge and also the components that go into it, because some of this stuff to make the better quality rods do cost a lot more. And I'm going to start off with the blank. Alright guys, the term is the blank. What the blank means is simply this part of the rod itself. So if I just zoom out there a bit so you can get a better view, what the blank is itself is this thing here, the rod itself, without any components. So without this, without the guides, without anything, without the reel seat here, without the handle, it's the tubular design there. All right, so that is the actual blank. So that's the terminology for it. Okay, now there are different forms of blanks, guys. Generally now there's going to be two choices in the fishing world. You're either going to get, now primarily anyway guys, it's not always just these two, but it's going to be either a carbon fiber / graphite rod. Okay, that's number one, and two is going to be a fiberglass rod. Okay, so they're both forms of fibers, fiber construction. One of them is more glass based, just like your fiberglass boats, and then the other one is graphite or carbon fiber. All right, so first of all, fiberglass is going to be a little bit more forgiving. It does have a more parabolic bend to it, meaning that it does have a lot more of a forgiving bend, as you can see there, to its design. And they're quite relatively strong fiberglass rods. Okay, and that's what most fishing rods were made out of quite a few years back, but now it seems like in the industry, a lot of fishing rods now consist of carbon fiber slash graphite design. So moving on to the carbon fiber and graphite design, why they actually use this sort of technology now and these materials now is because simply these materials are more stiffer. All right, so what stiffer means is that you're going to be getting, if a rod is more stiffer from, the tip, as you can see at the end there, guys, okay, all the way through to the handle, to the reel seat and handle where you're actually feeling, where you're holding it, therefore feeling around this area, it transmits, okay, the feel of, your lure being retrieved, or any, if you're bumping your lure over certain cover, or if a fish is biting onto that. Guys, the stiffer the material, the more sensitivity that you will get. Now, the issue is, with a stiffer material, what you're going to be getting is a more fragile material, meaning that it has more opportunity of being brittle, therefore being more chance of being able to break. Okay, so it's a fine balancing act, okay, between having that fantastic sensitivity and that breaking strain, because your fiberglass rods are going to be generally more flexible and more forgiving, and have maybe a more chance of bending more before it's going to go snap. Okay, these rods here, if they bend in a certain way, or if you high stick them too much, they are going to break, guys, and they're a lot more susceptible to breaking. But it seems like in the industry now, a lot of your rods are spinning reels or bait casters. You're going to be getting a graphite slash carbon fiber design. All right, so there's different forms of carbon fiber. Most of my rods are carbon fiber now. Like I said, most of the rods that you do buy in a shop now are going to be carbon fiber. Pretty much how carbon fiber works, and just like fiberglass as well, is it's sheets of carbon fiber that have been rolled. Okay, and then they have a something called resin inside there. They heat that resin up. They then compress it on something called a mandrel. So this is how they manufacture it. It's a piece of metal that's that they roll the carbon fiber around this piece of metal, and then they cook it inside a oven for X amount of whatever minutes or hours under pressure, therefore producing amount of force, and then that resin then melts and then dries as it cools, giving you the end product. So it is a combination of the quality of carbon fiber that they do supply, and then also the quality of resin. Now, the fibers in carbon fiber and fiberglass as well, let's pretend that my fingers are the carbon fiber strips. It's up to the type of resin that's in between those gaps, in between my fingers there, that fills those holes. Okay, and sticks them together and bonds them really well. All right, it's like, for example, another fine example would be a jar filled with marbles. You know, the better that you can get a type of material within those gaps of the marble to melt, and then and then once they dry, get strong. You know, that's how you sort of think of it in a if you're looking through it through a microscope. But that technology is the most important part of building rods nowadays. And you know, it's like I said, it's a combination of carbon fiber, the quality of carbon fiber, and then also the quality of the resin that they use. And guys, 3M is a company that makes high quality resins, and a lot of companies actually employ them and get 3M to supply the resin, because they actually make really good quality resin to be able to manufacture the blanks themselves. All right, guys, so I don't want to go too long into that information too much, guys. Do a bit of research on it, but let's get into the physical aspects of it. What you're going to be getting, like I said, is the blank. Okay, let's start at the bottom. You're going to be getting a handle. Okay, so there's different forms of handles. This one here moves into a thinner area here and then moves into a wider area quite nice without any bumps or anything like that. Like, it's not like that design there and then goes like that. It's quite a smooth transition, I should say, into from front to back. This here is called the handle. You've got here the butt, the butt. And then you've got here the reel seat. What the reel seat is, guys, is simply where the reel would sit onto your rod and then screws onto there. So there's different types of reel seats. Guys, Fuji pretty much make the best reel seats. There's other companies out there that make their rods and then want to sort of design their own reel seats, because ultimately they don't want to pay Fuji to supply them the reel seats, and they try to make their own. But Fuji are pretty much synonymous with being able to make high quality reel seats and then guides as well, but I'll get into that in just a sec. All right, so this is a skeleton style reel seat, meaning that you will have a gap between here, okay? And the only part where really the reel attaches to the rod itself and where your where bumps and vibrations will transfer into your reel would be from these the feet of the reel there, which are those two sections that have been put on there. I'm going to show you a different example. This is a skeleton style seat. This seat here would be well, obviously not a skeleton style seat. As you can see there, there's no gap in between there. So if I actually put that on there, it's going to be a little bit harder to see, but there's sort of like no gap between there and there. So this is not a skeleton design. This is a Fuji reel seat, by the way. And if I screw that on there more tightly, yeah, there's a lot of different types of reel seats that Fuji make, and a lot of actually there's a couple of more companies out there that do a pretty good job of making reel seats, but I just wanted to show you the different type. So this is another form of skeleton style reel seat. Generally you will see the blank there exposed as opposed to having anything on top there, okay? So that's what it means by skeleton, okay? Once again, this is not a skeleton style because it is flat here. All right. All right, next step would be moving on to, a lot of your rods are going to have something called a hook tie. All a hook tie is ultimately where you can attach your lure or your hook just to hold it on, okay? Because it's not recommended to ever put your hooks or lures on anywhere else. But one trick is, if you're going to have your reel here, most people do. They find it easy just to hook their hook onto this section here underneath. See this part here, just around underneath there, and hold your lure there as well. So that's another way you can do it. I actually always do that, guys. I never use my hook holders simply due to the fact that I do not want any sharp points near my blank whatsoever. All right, so that's just a thing that I do. Next step would be moving on to the guides. So if I move on to the guides here, this is what a guide is. All a guide means is that from your reel, you're going to have your line coming out through here and then into this hole, okay? And then depending on what sort of rod you bought, it would be dependent on how many guides that you get. So if I put it in that position there, this particular rod does have 11 guides plus the tip, inclusive of the tip, okay guys? Next, the tip itself, I shouldn't say the tip itself. These guides itself, all guides are made out of different materials. So some guides would be made out of titanium, okay? Some guides would be made out of different materials, but the more expensive the material, obviously the more expensive the guide. Some materials are going to be tougher and therefore last longer. And then the other thing is as well, certain materials are going to transfer the vibration that your line has when it hits the guide, and then it transfers it into the rod, therefore giving you better sensitivity on the rod, guys. So that's what you sort of pay for. It's a fine balancing act between having the, paying a bit more for that better quality sensitivity. And it is true, guys, if you pay a little bit more and you get the better materials, you will get more feel from your lures, okay? Okay, every guide has something in there. See how you got that metallic design there, around there, but then you see that little black ring in the middle? All right, those black rings are called runners, or pretty much what that is because you can't have metal against your line, because it'll, over time it's going to rust, or even if it's a material that doesn't rust, it's going to hurt your line and therefore cause stripping of your line or even rip your line. So what these are is an incredibly toughened material. A lot of these runners are made out of some of the hardest substances known to man. I kid you not. They actually, a lot of fishing companies, rod manufacturers have got pride in being able to supply you with rare, incredibly expensive materials that the runners are made out of. Everything from zirconia through to alkanite, through to, what's the other one that's really popular? Silicon carbide as well. They're some of the hardest substances known to man. I mean, like, along with diamond and so forth. Obviously, you're not going to use diamond because it's going to cost you a fortune. If you do have a diamond rod, guys, please comment below. That would be awesome. Okay. But, all right, moving on to, all right, it's taken a bit longer than I thought. So, all right, so a lot of fishing rods, when you do get them, you're going to get, obviously, the information on there. So as you can see, the brand itself is St. Croix. You're going to be getting the model of the rod. And then over here, you're going to be getting a lot of information on there. So if you, sorry, if you can't see that. Here we go. It says here, XIC 70 MHF. What that pretty much stands for is abbreviations for certain ratings. All right, guys, so pretty much that's the main thing that you need to know about the rod. What that stands for is okay, so this is obviously a Legend Extreme Inshore by St. Croix. So this is going to be the Extreme, okay, there we go, Extreme Inshore Casting. That's what the C stands for. 70 stands for 7 foot 0 inches. Okay, so it's a 7 foot long rod. M stands for medium heavy. So MH, I should say, stands for medium heavy. That's got to do with the power. And then F stands for fast action. I'll go into that in just a second. All right, so the 7 foot, and then now they've got more information here. It says 7 foot medium heavy power. What that actually means is it's obviously 7 foot long, medium heavy power. Let's talk about the power. Power means, if I just show you the rod here, pretty much how much force it takes to be able to bend the rod. So a more powerful rod means that the more that you do this, there's less chances of bending. It's going to not bend as much. If it's got a softer power, say for example, it's got a much softer power, it's not going to be a medium power, it's going to be a softer one. If it's going to be a heavy power, it's going to be like less bend. It's going to take more force to bend that rod. Now, next of all, it says the action. What the action's got to do with is how far, and I can't zoom out that far, guys, but here, actually, I'll try to show you it like that. Sorry if it's a bit bright. But it means, obviously, from all the way through to the rod till you get to the tip, the action means whereabouts in the rod it primarily wants to bend. Okay, so this is a fast action, meaning that it's going to be more, and you can see it there, it's going to be more on the tip that it wants to bend, meaning that you're going to be having a lot of stiffness in the backbone here, along that area, and then you're going to be having a little bit more bend, more so around this section as opposed to this middle section here. So it's going to be very strong here for the bigger fish to pull in, but it's going to have a little bit more of a forgiving action there, so therefore you can work your lures, and then also that can be the shock absorber, really, so you won't lose too many fish because your rod's going to be a little bit more forgiving in regards to, you know, if it was really stiff, guys, if you're not careful, the fish is going to throw your lure. So this is why if you keep the line tight, this here is going to do all the work and be the shock absorber. That's what you pay for. It's a combination between trying to be ultra strong and then also trying to be forgiving, in the sense where it does give you a little bit of bend, okay? Because any company can make the world's strongest rod. You can make it out of solid steel. That's not going to fish very well. You can make one that bends heaps, but the issue is you want that sensitivity. When you get too much bend, you don't get the sensitivity. All right, guys? So moving on, lastly would be the line weight. What the line weight means, is here. So your lure rating. So what it's recommended about one and a half to about sorry, it's about ½ ounce to 1 1/4 ounce in terms of its rating in regards to what the manufacturer feels that you should be putting on this particular rod in terms of its weight of lure. The other thing is you get some information here, 10 to 20 pound, meaning that's what it actually recommends in regards to the line that you put there, because something's going to have to give, guys. Okay, they put a recommendation there. It means that it's 10 to 20 pounds. If you put, say for example, 30 pounds or 50 pounds on this rod in terms of the line is stronger than what the rod can take, meaning that if you pull hard enough on this rod, something's going to give, and it's not going to be the line, because the line can take 50 pounds if you put on 50 pounds, but this rod cannot take 50 pounds, meaning that something's going to have to give. All right, and it's generally, and it happens a lot. I've never snapped a rod myself, actually fishing. Actually, I've snapped a rod by just like bending it actually, and testing out how it sort of bends, and that was a mistake on my half. But yeah, the rating for its line is about 10 to 20 pounds. So that's what they recommend you put on there in terms of the line strength that you have on your reel. Okay, like I said, something's going to have to give. Either the line breaks or your rod breaks. All right, there's a couple of forms of different types of handles. I've got here a custom-made handle by St. Croix. It's a special type of handle that they claim takes about 15 hours to make. I'm not so sure about that. I'm sure that's a bit of marketing as well. It's a really cool handle, but a lot of your handles are going to be made out of cork. Like this one here, this is another St. Croix that's made out of cork. I'm a real fan of cork. They feel good as you're using them, and I like it when they start to age. It's just a nostalgia thing with me. And then this one here is obviously a hybrid of cork, where you hold your hand, so you're going to get the feel of cork, but then on this side it's going to be quite a grippy EVA design. EVA is a synthetic material, so yeah, they went hybrid, half and half with that one there. And these two are completely EVA designs here. Okay, EVA generally is a little bit cheaper than cork. Generally, good quality cork will cost you a lot more, but you know, some cheap corks I suppose might cost you less than EVA handles. But yeah, generally there's two different types, either cork or EVA, and this one here is just a custom-made one. I don't know what St. Croix put into making that particular rod. Guys, this has been a really long video. If you have made it to the end, I really appreciate it. But yeah, I hope I've given you a lot of information on what the baitcast rod is about. Yeah, comment below if you've got any questions, and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing a couple of rod reviews in the coming weeks, okay, and a couple more lure reviews, and I'll be doing a couple more fishing reel, okay, so reel reviews, and then also I'll be moving into soft plastics as well, okay. But I appreciate it, guys. Hit the like button if you like the video. If there is any questions you have, please don't hesitate to comment below. Contact me personally, but yeah, stick around, and I appreciate you supporting the channel. See you later, guys. Bye.